We are standing today on the edges of the nest of prosperity, where men aspire to acquire homes and yachts and to discover their potential to prosperity, where you meet the friends as well as the connections and you do the right networking to succeed in life. But what shall it profit a man if he gains the entire world and he lose his own soul? Darlington, when I think of my country and when I think of greatness, how can I be great in my country today?
Well, one of my favorite quotes from Martin Luther King Jr. is, anybody can be great because anybody can serve.
Darlington, that's interesting. Anybody can be great because anybody can serve. When you think of service, serving someone, how do you go about serving someone, serving a nation? What is your mindset? What should you understand if you intend to serve?
Firstly, if you want to serve somebody, if you want to serve your country, you have to understand what the person is thinking. You have to know or feel what the person is feeling.
Now, in addition, when we think of today's program, we want to think of national service. There are many people who seek for education and qualifications so that they could serve in government, they could serve in parliament, but should they go through the community? Should they go through knocking down on houses? Should they take time out to go to the hospitals? Should they take time out to go to the prison? Should they take time out to understand the suffering of those they intend to serve so that they could serve and create better policies going forward?
Firstly, you need to understand that if you want to serve and serve with value, to add a value that is really rich, you have to understand it's not just about money, it's not just about obtaining.
Wow.
It's not just about achievements. It's about doing the thing that you are passionate about.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we shall be favored with a special song that will revive your spirit as you seek to serve.
Those hands all over the room. Lift your hands, come on. Somebody's going through a hard place, but I'm going to encourage you tonight. Listen. Exceedingly, abundantly, above all you could ask or think, according to, hey, the power that worketh in you, you and me. Lift those hands, listen y'all. God is able to do just what he said he would do. He's gonna fulfill every promise to you. Listen, don't give up on God, cause he won't give up on you. Listen, cause he's able. I just got one word for you. Listen, he's able. I wish I had a church in here. Lift those hands and sing it. God is able. God is able to do just what he said. Just what he said he would do. And he's gonna fulfill every promise. Listen, tell somebody, don't give up on God. Cause he won't give up on you. He's able. Get somebody and tell him he's able. Say it. You know it now. I want you on your feet.
Many men and women are seeking to be great. Some choose the corridors of politics. Others choose the corridors of university, while others choose to travel the journey that leads to the poor man's house and feel the pain of those that are suffering. I want to tell you today, it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce to you an individual, a man that is certified, educated, a worker and an achiever, somebody that I'm proud of, somebody that have participated in national development and seeking to introduce investment in our country. Dr. Ernest Hilaire is well placed to give us a perspective, give us an understanding as to how we should proceed and what opportunities lie ahead for us. Thank you for staying tuned, and please, let us learn as much as we can from this enlightening conversation. Many people boast about the answers to life's problems. Coping with life stresses and life challenges and facing life problems call for a kind of thinking, a quality of thinking that goes just beyond reading or perhaps watching television or going on the internet, or perhaps what I call YouTube answers and solutions. We need to have our solutions target at individuals within a certain context that will allow us to feel a level of empowerment and encouragement going forward. It's about time that we stop dribbling, as I said before, and kick the social ball straight to the goal as we consider the realities facing our country today. I have the great pleasure and privilege of sitting in the company of a gentleman who has worked very, very hard, well accomplished, not only within St. Lucia, regionally and internationally. When I think of all the talk in the media, and I look at what people are doing to construct solutions as we go forward, when I think of social cohesion, when I think of how we could gain social equity in this country to address issues that will make it very, as it were, a little easier on our population, you need a kind of thinking, a quality of thinking. And I thought of one man. I have had many persons on this program so far, let's face it, but I thought it's just wise and in place at this point in time to turn to a very handsome man, a very educated man, a very hardworking man, and help us understand the St. Lucian context and how we could best go forward together, because St. Lucia is our country. I didn't come here on a boat. I'm a St. Lucian. I love St. Lucia. No matter wherever I roam, I love coming home. So please join me as I speak to Ernest. Ernest, welcome to Let's Face It.
Thank you very much.
I'm happy to be with you. I'm happy to be in your presence, Ernest. Ernest, today you look like you had a good day today, Ernest.
Well, it's been a good week so far. I mean, as you can imagine, you know, a lot of work has been done now, meeting people, speaking to individuals from South, Castle South, and it's been a good week.
Now the word South means down here, right?
Or it might just mean on the other side of North.
All right, okay. You see, because I really believe that just before your name was mentioned, many people who heard about you, they tried to, as it were, bring out whatever they want at the time. But I think Dr. Lewis did very well in that area.
Yes,
I think Dr. Lewis is a man of integrity. I must say that, ladies and gentlemen, that the media says what they want and the reality is not always the same. But when you see Dr. Lewis, give him my regards. Huh?
I certainly will.
You think you can walk in his shoes?
I'm definitely not. I mean, I'll have to bring my own pair.
Your own pair.
I mean, when you think about it, Castle South was at George Charles as its representative, and George Charles was our first chief minister, led us out of colonialism. After George Charles, we had John Odlum, who himself was a giant of a man in terms of his community relationships and the way he related to his constituents. And John Odlum was replaced by Robert Lewis. And as you said, a person of integrity, a person of deep conviction, a person who sincerely cared about people and had his own unique way of doing things. And now I need to follow in that tradition. And it's a very high bar that I have to get over. But I'm excited about it. I think I will have to leave my own mark on the constituency. I have to build on the work that was done by George Charles, John Odlum, Robert Lewis, and take it to another level. But I'll have to do it in my own way and my own style of doing things. And with the own experiences that I've had as a young person, growing up in Castle South, and otherwise.
Now, before we go to your experience, they say experience is not what happens to a man, it's what you do with what happens to you. So
Exactly.
let's see what have happened to you over the years.
Yeah.
Tell us a little more about who is Ernest.
Yeah. Well, I was born by what we call the bridge, Bopoa,
Bopoa,
which is right opposite Dubule, Buckland.
All right, okay.
So born there, raised up Mount Cemetery,
Okay.
which is a cemetery.
Cemetery, okay.
Yeah, Hospital Road for a show.
Okay.
Banan, that was my stomping ground, all the way up to the Villa Hotel, Boakache.
Okay.
Those were our areas. My mother is from Bassa Joseph.
Okay.
So I grew up essentially on the block, right across the harbor there.
Okay.
Like any other young man growing up in that area, you had your dreams, your aspirations,
Okay.
the things you wanted in life, and there were a lot of challenges.
Talking about challenges, so if you walk into the hospital, the old cemetery there, the guys will react to you how?
Well, put it that way, there are two generations.
Okay.
There are persons of my age
Okay.
who, once they see me, remember,
these
that's
days,
Harvey, because
yeah.
they know me as Harvey.
Harvey, okay.
As Harvey and whatnot. And a lot of them are extremely proud because you grew up with somebody and then that person eventually became an ambassador. That person became CEO of West Indies Cricket, in charge of cricket around the West Indies, in charge of Cricket World Cup in St. Lucia. So in many ways, the guy they grew up with, their partner, and they're proud of knowing that you see some of them and you know their own accomplishments and you relate to that. But there's also a younger generation.
Right.
A younger generation that is facing even greater challenges, facing even greater risk and social instabilities and social challenges. And of course, once they get to know who you are, so you have you Fox brother, or you Wolf brother, and they start making the connections, and you've discovered some of them are your relatives. And then there's really that comfort when you walk into the community and people can reacquaint with you.
Sounds good. That shift, give us an idea as to that generational shift or that gap or that cultural shift as to the peaceful days, the happy moments, those days when you grew up right there in Fulasho and by the hospital, the old cemetery there. Today, if somebody has to go in that area, they will perhaps have to think twice, or they may have to have you to escort them and ask the guys ahead, peace, peace. But I want to ask you, what is your view about that shift? What do you think that have contributed to change the character of this community? But before we do that, we talk about relatives. Let's get there. Mom, father, do you have kids, family?
Well, I have two daughters.
Great, okay.
Both of them happen to be born on the same day, 2 years apart. April 9th. One is at Maya is at convent. The other Anya is in grade 6 now at Montessori. My mom is from Bassa Joseph. Born and raised in Bassa Joseph, and I have quite an extensive family network in Bassa Joseph. So my mother left Bassa Joseph and came to live down by the bridge, and we were born there. In our later years, we moved to La Clery, and there's a story behind that, because my mother always had this vision that her children must go on to university and become something, that the only thing she had that she could have given to her children was the opportunity to get education. But my mother, like most mothers in St. Lucia, have this experience of life, and they know the things that are so important for their children. So my mother, we live on a spot of land where we rented the land, but my mother wanted to have her own piece of land.
But I'm from La Clery. What part of La Clery?
Well, at the bottom of York Hill, the Ferdinands, right at the back there. Right behind the Ferdinands, that's where my mom lives. And my mother tried for many years to get out of the area that we lived in, where she can own her own piece of land. Could not. The government changed in 1979, and my mother went to John Odlum, who she voted for, supporters of the Labour Party. And he was suggesting that she move to Cicero, but she didn't want to move it. Her view was she was moving from one challenge area to another area, and she didn't really want that. She went to see Mikey Pilgrim, and then he organized for us to get a piece of land at La Clery. That land, and that's the importance of people owning a piece of St. Lucia, because that land now becomes your property. You can mortgage it. Your children can get a loan to go to university, to get degrees. And that's why it's important as a government, as a Labour Party government, we've placed emphasis on a Proud program, for example, to be able to give ordinary people title to land that they can use, to mortgage and to be able to send their children to school. So my mom is from Massachusetts, like I said, and we spent the latter part of our upbringing in Leclerc, but always very connected with the area that we came from. My godmother lived in the cemetery until a few years ago. My grandaunt lived there. My brothers had the houses there and grew up there. So, I mean, we're very connected to their constituency.
Good. Now, I do not know, but I picked up he spoke about policy. The Labour Party will get there when the time is right. But let's talk about the cultural shift so that we could zip up on Fuller Show and compare it with Leclerc. Our young people certainly, whether you like it or not, there is a cultural shift. There is an invasion of a culture that seems to threaten our economic stability. We'll get there in a while. But what is your assessment and solution or prescription in that regard?
Well, I think we need to just accept that society is changing.
Society changes.
And with the introduction of technology, and more so on a grander scale, the social interactions between people are changing dramatically. When we grew up, yes, there were fights and little gangs and fighting, but there were no instruments of destruction like exist now. There were no guns.
Yes.
So you fought with a piece of stick, you throw a stone at a man. You throw a stone behind him, or you grab a piece of stick. The worst you would have had is what those days is called a ratchet.
Or catapult.
Or even catapult and things like that. There were no guns. And it's so easy for young people to get guns. So when there is any conflict and they want to resolve it, the first thing they go for is a gun. In our days, you didn't have that. They didn't have crack and cocaine and those things. The most guys would do is probably smoke some weed, that kind of stuff. There were not some of the deadly diseases, the HIVs and whatnot that they have now. So growing up in our time was a lot less challenging than the young men of today. So the young men are facing greater challenges. The instruments of destruction, like I said, are more perverse than before. And then there is technology. So with technology, we see less of a demand on young people to learn to interact with each other.
Yeah, we'll get to that just now. That's very important.
Learn to interact with each other.
On that note of technology, I want to talk about your education. They tell me if you really want to know a man, go to his library and look at the books that he reads. You will know the quality of man that you're dealing with. We'll talk about the youth and the gangs and So you were saying now that in as much as there is unparalleled technology, and we could boast about scientific discoveries in wherever we can, computer, you talk about invention here, invention there, the world has developed in many ways, knowledge has increased. But on the other hand, whilst we have all those scientific and technological advancement, equally our young people are facing issues and they have that challenge, On one hand, the world is growing technological-wise. On the other hand, the problems, the psychosocial issues continue to plague us. All right, we'll come to that in a while. But you're not a fool, huh?
Well, I would hope not.
I mean, you are well educated, would you say?
Well, I mean, I think I've had the blessings of the Almighty to have gone to some of the best schools in the world. I, of course, went to St. Aloysius Archie Boys School, went to comprehensive school, went to A-level college. I then went to K-Ville, University of West Indies, where I did political science and sociology. I got a first-class honors degree. In fact, was the first student in my department to get a first-class honors degree.
I hope you could show me how to get a first-class honors.
I then went on to I became a Cambridge scholar. I went to University of Cambridge, where I did my MPhil in international relations. And I did a PhD at the London School of Economics and Political Science, which is one of the leading institutions. So having gone to Cambridge and London School of Economics, I think has given me the opportunity to study at two of the most prestigious universities in the world. And I had to be blessed to really be able to reach there because I got a scholarship to Cambridge. And at LSE, I was able to get a fellowship, get a teaching job, and to just, work my way through and to pay my way through. And in many ways, that has given me quite a lot of skills. I've also done a diploma in negotiations and conflict resolution. So technically, a trained negotiator. And again, it's through hard work and blessings, as I would say. So yes, I've been blessed and lucky to have gotten the opportunities and to reach where I've reached.
Sounds good, sir. Sounds good. I mean, let me shake your hands again. You're an accomplished man. You have a mind that is unparalleled.
Well, I wouldn't say unparalleled, but I mean, I have worked.
You have studied. He used a phrase here. A political scientist pays close attention to imagery and words. He used the word bless. what do you know about being blessed? What do you know about the one who blessed is? Hold that thought. We'll come to that after we take a special break at this point in time. Yes, he said that the Lord has blessed him. And only a man who knows who he is and where he's going, that has a vision in life, can recognize that he cannot do nothing. Without God, he has nothing. Without God, he can do nothing. And without God, he is nothing. And Ernest told us that the Lord has blessed him. Ernest, how do you measure a blessing? What do you know about faith and science since you have been on earth?
No, I mean, I'm a strong believer in science.
Okay.
I mean, I believe in science. I believe science is necessary for the advancement of our human civilization. But beyond that, one has to accept that there are things which one does not have the intellectual capacity to fully understand and appreciate it for what it is. And there has to be answers beyond what our intellect can provide. And some people decide, well, it's not important. Someday science will explain it. I think there has to be answers beyond us. Okay. And that's the foundation of the spirituality, that you have to believe that there is a force that is bigger than us, that is in many ways guiding a lot of what we've done. I mean, I think from my own self, I mean, I grew up as a young man on the block, you know, with all the challenges all young men face at that time. But I always wanted to be an ambassador. Okay. You know, I would study everything I can, the flags of every country, the population of every country, because I had this dream which I wanted to achieve. I never thought I could ever reach university. How could I have ever reached to be university? My mother didn't have the money. I didn't have the backing. But yet I made it through despite all the challenges. And I succeeded. I did very well at university. And I got a scholarship to go to Cambridge. You know, you dreamt of going to England to study at the best universities in the world, and I got that opportunity to do so. How did that happen? Yes, I worked hard, I studied hard, but you know, they had to have been the blessings.
A guiding hand.
In many ways.
A power that is guiding.
And then I went on, you know, after Cambridge, I went to teach at the university. And I think at every stage in my life, things have happened that you just cannot explain how it has happened. At Cambridge, I was going to start my PhD, and I got an offering to come to teach at K-Ville campus. And I took it. You know, there was just something just told me to take it. At the right time. At the right time.
Opportunity and training came.
I went there and I met Owen Arthur, was the Prime Minister of Barbados, and we developed a very good relationship. And one day he told me, you know, he wanted to introduce me to this gentleman, Kenny Anthony, because he was going to return to St. Lucia to be the leader of the Labour Party, and he believed I really should believe in this man and follow him, whatnot, because I never really met Kenny Anthony before. And then Kenny Anthony came back to lead the Labour Party. I left my teaching job to come back to St. Lucia to help with the campaign in '96. When we won in '97, Kenny Anthony offered me to be his administrative attaché. And I became his administrative attaché. And I got the chance then to work on some of the most profound and significant social programs of the government, setting up STEP, setting up NSDC, setting up James Belgrave, involvement in PROUD, involvement in PRF. I got the opportunity to do so. Now, to be able to get those opportunities and for you to be able to transform lives, there had to be a deeper purpose and a deeper meaning behind everything that happened.
So you're Daniel, as it were?
Not really, not really. It's just that you always seem to be at the right place and the right opportunities come. I mean, I went on to go to become PS Youth and Sports, and to be given responsibility by Mario Michel to build a cricket ground and the National Stadium. That's the dream job of a young man who is a sports fanatic. I went on to do my PhD. Whilst at PhD, I got an opportunity to come back to head Cricket World Cup in St. Lucia. I mean, that again, how many people get those opportunities? And then the ICC offered me an opportunity to do the World T20. How do you get those opportunities? And while I was doing the World T20, WICB said we need to restructure West Indies cricket, and we want to offer you the opportunity. And again, how do you get those opportunities?
All these are your blessings. All these are
These
blessings.
it have to be blessings.
Yes.
So sometimes when I tell people that I'm either I'm the most lucky, or I'm the most blessed. and take your pick, you know.
Yes.
For those who don't believe, they will say you're a lucky man. But to be lucky 10 times in life, I mean, come on.
You could actually see your upward momentum and mobility. You could. You don't know how it happened, like the wind. You cannot see, but you know when the wind moves the leaves. You know.
So that's the basis of my faith, and my faith is the basis of what I've achieved in life. Like I said, I can either take the choice of being the luckiest man, or one of the most blessed. And for me, even moving forward, I mean, I'm not a person who go to church every Sunday, every day, but I'm deeply spiritual.
What do you think about the church community? Is it relevant?
Very relevant, very relevant. There are people who find comfort in going to church, in fellowship with others, in praying with others. For me, I love my private moments when I sit with myself. I'm my own biggest critic. You know, when I evaluate my own self, I condemn myself for things I've done, things I've said, things I did not do properly, and to work on it and improving on all the things that I've done. You don't always succeed in life, and after all, we are fallible. But I believe spirituality plays a pivotal role in our society.
We get there. Faith, hope, and love. Which of those values or virtues that really speaks loud to you?
Faith, for sure, because faith is the foundation for everything. If you don't have faith, there can't be any love, there can't be anything else. You have to believe. You have to have the conviction that it can be done, and that there is the blessing to do it. So for me, faith is always the foundation for everything.
Amen. Dr. Hilaire, you have given us a good resume of your efforts in the past. Lately, St. have been hearing a lot of stuff. Some in a good light, some, of course, in a tasteless, feeling, right? Some about Joe and all these things. I don't know about this. I'm confused about Joe I'm confused. But I want to talk about why you, at this point in time, this juncture in St. history, you decide to go into national service.
Well, I've been involved in national service for many years, but political office, because I started off as a student leader. I was the founding president of the student branch of the National Youth Council, which was setting up the student movement in that form in St. Lucia. I was vice president of the National Youth Council for 4 years. We set up the National Youth Council office. I was the administrative officer. I was also president of the Caribbean Federation of Youth. I've had the opportunity as a youth leader to represent St. Lucia and the Caribbean at international gatherings of youth and students all over the world. So even before I had gone to university, I probably traveled half of the world representing youth and students of St. Lucia and the Caribbean. And service is in me. That's what defines me. I didn't even choose it. I just found myself as a student leader because the students elected me as somebody to be their class rep and to be their leader. And I've done that ever since I was about 17 years old.
Are you very forceful when you speak? What about you that appeals to people that can see the leadership quality in you?
I have no idea. No, honestly, I don't.
It's not calculated at all?
No, I'm just myself. I mean, I will never be the best speaker. I will never be the best platform speaker. I will never be the most articulate person. I'll never be the best reader. I just like to be myself and say what I think and how I feel. And it has always worked for me.
What a pain do you think that young people go through or experience, that pain or that really causes you to want to solve a problem in their lives?
Because I know what I went through growing up. I know sitting on the block. When I was growing up, I know the thoughts I was going through my head.
Example, give us.
I mean, your frustration in society.
Social frustration.
You don't know how you'll finish school. You don't know your mother is out there hustling, trying to take care of 7 children. You don't know if you'll ever go to university. You want to go to university. You're thinking of when you leave school, will you ever get a job? The days when you start feeling hungry because you haven't had a proper meal. I know the thoughts that go through the young people's head because I have been through it. Somebody involved in sports, I know what the sportsmen are talking about, the things they want to do. I've seen young men who are friends of mine who are artists and never became successful at it because the opportunities were never there for them. I know young men who were dancers who never went anywhere because the opportunities were not created for them. So I was a youth leader, and I had the interaction with young people all over St. Lucia, and I knew what their aspirations are. I mean, I grew up as a young man to wanting to go to university, wanting to go on to higher levels of education, and I know the frustrations that they went through.
Okay.
And for me, those lessons and experiences define me. And it's the reason why, coming back to your first question, I want to be involved in political office, because I have always been at service, in my country, but I've never been at a political center of decision making. I've been very active in the Labour Party from a very, very young age. But now is a chance for me to be elected, to be able to speak in Parliament, to be in a cabinet of ministers, and to actually make the decisions that matter, that can transform lives and build communities in St. Lucia.
Very good, very interesting. What is political science? They say politicians are... If you ask the ordinary man about a politician or politics in St. Lucia, what is political science? One person tell me that political science is dividing the resources correctly.
Yeah.
What does the academia or the academics say?
Yeah.
What does the school say?
No,
about
it is really about studying the power relationships in society.
power relationship?
Yeah, the power. I mean, who has power? Which group has power? How does one exercise power? How does one use power?
Okay.
How do you? Who competes for the resources of society? How it is distributed?
Okay.
It's a very broad concept.
Okay.
So political science really is the scientific study of
Okay.
the conduct of politics in a society.
Right. Take me back to the real political landscape of St. Lucia. There are certain people I can, upon reflection, if you're now a doctor in political science and you have you helped shape policy? Do you advise governments here overseas? What do you think about our political climate as well as our political landscape today? What do you think about it?
I mean, I've had my fair share of offering advice and writing papers, documents, initiating projects in the public sphere of activity. I think our political landscape in St. Lucia has not really progressed and matured the way it ought to.
Okay.
I think in '97, for example, we tried very hard to introduce concepts of accountability, transparency. We tried to modernize the governmental structure to make it more efficient, more relevant. But there are a lot of inherent contradictions when you start doing that, because there are vested interests that you start to threaten.
Okay.
And when you start to threaten vested interests, there's always a backlash. And sometimes you have to be really strong to be able to survive it. Because when you think about it, at the end of the day, politicians want to be elected. You don't go into politics to be in opposition. You go into politics to be elected, to be in government, to be in power. And sometimes you find there's a dilemma between the fundamental principles you stand for and whether or not, if you pursue them, there is that vested interest you threaten, which can come against you and pull you down, and you're no longer in power. So what do? Do you become suicidal and say, look, I'm going to follow those principles no matter what, even if I lose power? Or do I start compromising on them? And when you think about politics also, politics is the art of compromise. Because you cannot be leading and believe it must be done your way or no other way and just what you believe in. You must take other person's opinions into consideration. Sometimes you have to start compromising on your own positions to be able to accommodate and build a coalition of the willing to follow you. In St. Lucia, I mean, when you look at what happens in politics now, and in many ways it is inspired by the media that we have in St. Lucia, you don't see the kind of frank, open dialogue and discourse that we need so that we can focus on our core problems. People say things, they don't substantiate it, they don't do research, but they say it because they believe if they say it, some people will believe it. And if you're my opponent, I will say things about you that people will believe that can pull you down.
We're going to return to that point in a while, politics and the media. But what about the power holders, the business community? If you have a principle that you believe that will benefit your country, but the others, or the power makers, the power holders in the country, the business community, there are certain people in town that because of the dollar, they make a difference. How do you adjust your principles with power holders who could threaten your position? What is the strategy, if any, comes to mind?
I think at the end of the day, you have to always make a decision. If the fundamental principles that define me are to be violated, should I be in that area of activity? And that's a personal and a moral question. If the things I stand for and what define me as who I am, if I need to start compromising on them, maybe I should leave that area of activity. and go to an area of activity where those fundamental principles are not challenged. Precisely.
Okay.
Beyond that, you have to also now say to yourself, these are not the fundamental principles that define who I am per se, but I believe in those things. So that's now your belief system in some way. You cannot always impose your belief system on people, because other people have their belief systems. Other people have their own interests. You have your own interests. And if you want to take action A, and there's a counterforce B, to what extent can we compromise so both of us can move forward with the agenda? I may not get all my way, but you also don't get all your way, and we compromise to move forward. And that moving forward is in the national interest.
All right.
So I think there are points where your moral principles should not be compromised, and you should move on. And there are times when you have to compromise with other people, because you can't just always impose your own belief systems on them. So I think that's the point I wanted to make. And politics is about that. Is about compromising and making sure you can move forward as a society.
Your public life and your private life. How do you synchronize this? How do you do it in a way that you can have peace with yourself?
Yeah. I think in some ways you have to compartmentalize sometimes. You have to compartmentalize between the way you live your private life, which is between you. And I always believe your private life between you and your creator.
Okay, right.
You know, that's who you ultimately account to for the things that you do. In your public life, you also have to account for the people. So it becomes a bigger space. It's not just you and your creator anymore, where you have to be, you have moral judgments, what to make. If you are leading people, you care about people, you have to attend to them, you have to look after them, you have to provide leadership to them. And
you have to feed them.
That's your public life, and it is broader than your private life. And you have to, I feel, you have to be able to compartmentalize the two. That there are certain, when you are dealing with your public life, is you, your creator, and the people. That you need.
I think once I heard somebody said, if I got that right, it was about gambling. So John say to the pastors, you deal with their spirits, I deal with their stomachs.
And he was making a very powerful point that, when it comes to him and his public life, he has a responsibility to attend to that. Of course, at the end of the day, it all comes back down to your own moral standing and how comfortable you are with your accounting for your actions to your creator. Because at the end of the day, that is the ultimate judgment, So.
So it's not easy trying to be everything to everybody, right?
Exactly, precisely.
Right. Okay, but yet the Apostle Paul said that we ought to. He said that if you have to win people, you have to think like them, you have to sit with them, and learn what you can. But we need to find out exactly what Ernest will do now in Castries South. We need to find out, don't you listen to the news? All the bright ideas, the proposals has come in. Everybody's saying that the St. Lucia can prosper and this can happen, that can happen. I want to ask Ernest, what will you do differently if given an opportunity? Please stay tuned. Ernest, you came across earlier on like you know your stuff. And we really need in time of crisis thinkers. The biggest problem that men have is that they don't think. Ernest, what do you think you will do differently in terms of national policy if given the opportunity?
Well, I think I would want to be able to communicate to St. Lucians, and in particular my constituents, what is the vision we have for the future for St. Lucia, both myself as a parliamentary representative and the St. Lucia Labour Party. Because I believe St. Lucia can become a very special place to live in. I believe we can overcome our challenges largely. There will always be challenges, there will always be difficulties, but I believe that as a Labour Party, we have a very clear idea of where we want to take St. Lucia and how to do it. Not that it's going to be easy, but we need to be able to communicate to people and inspire them, motivate them, and give them hope that our vision of the future is attainable, and that we as a nation, political leaders, business, everybody can work together to achieve it.
Hold that thought. Where has the St. Lucia Labour Party taken St. Lucia? You said, before you take us into the future, we must know our history. What are the hallmarks of the policies of the St. Lucia Labour Party?
I mean, I need more than an hour to
No,
tell
say
you
it,
that.
say it.
I mean, just think of that. In 1997, when children start common entrance, at least 40% could never go to secondary school, even if you pass. Even if you had passed, you could not go to secondary school. The St. Lucia Labour Party introduced universal secondary education where every child can go to a secondary school. In the future, we need to now ensure that every child can go to a preschool, can go to a daycare, so they get a right start off. We need to make sure every child can get a tertiary level education, and that's the future. If you think about it, before 1997, we didn't have a cricket ground, international cricket facility. We didn't have an international stadium in St. Lucia.
Yeah.
Our young people had to run and do everything at Minofele Park. We could not even host international cricket.
Okay, yeah.
Since then, we've had 3 cricketers play for the West Indies cricket team, Darren Sammy, Gary Maffrey, and Johnson Charles.
Yeah.
All of that came after we built an international cricket ground, and we started building sporting facilities all over the country. Just look at even recently, the home care program, and I've been around my constituency, well, the constituency that I'm contesting for. It is one of the most loved programs, and I'll tell you why. And Dr. Anthony must be applauded for this initiative. We had so many elderly persons in homes with nobody caring for them. Nobody caring for them. Their whole physical state, their emotional state, was just neglected. We now have individuals who are trained, who go to the homes and take care of those elderly people, bathe them, feed them, clean their homes for them. It's a fantastic program that has transformed the lives of elderly in St. Lucia.
Okay. Now, où ça parle pas tout?
Oui.
Gouvernement a fait un commitment pour que ces gens qui travaillent, ils arrivent à l'âge, et ces gens qui ont home care programme là. Si vous avez un power pour bailler ces gens qui ont commencé à travailler avant nous, qui ont bâti cette lycée, qui ça vous dit yo?
Le gouvernement libre et toi là, c'est un gouvernement qui savent la situation ces gens qui arrivent à l'âge à cette lycée. Et le gouvernement a assisté ces gens là pour ensure qu'il y ait des personnes qui viennent à Kayo, qui viennent à Kayo, qui aident, qui gardent après eux. Mon qui passe à faire bagaille pour Kayo, passe à nettoyer Kayo, passe à même pour manger pour Kayo. Nous avons voyé mon chaque ces gens-là pour aider.
Et délai, ces familles qui ont quitté.
Non, c'est ça même, ces familles qui ont quitté. Ici, ils vivent la vie. Vous savez, ils n'ont pas de pièces pour garder après. Dr. Anthony dit, c'est un bagage qui est un bagage critique. Exactement. Nous avons voyé chaque commune là pour aller voir ces gens-là pour aider. Ça qui est malade, mais ils sont à l'hôpital pour les jeunes. Vous savez, pour nous, ça c'est un bagage qui est really critique.
Now, là où commencez à gagner ces gens là, aider ces gens là, qui ça vous dit ces gens là, qui commitment vous fait pour vous?
Pour ces
gens là, Ministries Southeast, qui a bénéficié du programme ça.
Non, le programme là qui continue. Oui. Il y a un programme nous qui toujours voulu rester à cette lycée. C'est un programme, depuis que j'ai commencé à aller chaque petit cas là qui parle de ce monde-là, mais quand tout le monde a dit, just make sure qu'il va partir là, quitter le programme ça là.
Quitter là.
Pas de bout programme ça là. Et puis quand j'ai dit, c'est un programme qui a fait really sentir dans les gens qui n'y ont à solider. Vous savez, c'est un programme, je vais dire, si c'est un programme pour pas de bout, c'est un programme.
Yeah, now, ladies and gentlemen, the Bible says, one of the commandments, honor your parents so that you would live long. Any man who has attained certification, has gained property and finance, I don't care how much money you have in the bank, if you have abandoned your mother in old age or your father, you're worse than, Sparrow said something. What Sparrow said? He said that, but I'll get it to. But Sparrow has something to say about guys who abandon their parents and go ahead living life like they do not exist. Ernest, let's get back to the point of your community. What are the distinctive features? What is it about Castres South that you would really want to see improve or perhaps change?
Well, I mean, when you look at Castro South, there are a few challenged communities in Castro South. So one of the immediate priorities is for us to have interventions in those communities to see how we can alleviate some of the issues that they face, issues of flooding, issues of congestion, housing congestion, infrastructure, walkways, steps for people. We need to look at some of those things, just basic lights, so people don't walk in darkness between houses, whatnot.
What areas that have this is this very prevalent?
Well, you still have the cemetery, for example. You have Banan, some of those areas. In Cicero, Dr. Lucia has done a lot to build a lot of concrete roads and footpaths. And when you just think about it, a lot of individuals live in Monkey Town who moved from Conway, placed there 30 odd years ago. Roads were never built for them. It's just dirt and mud paths that they had to use. Finally, they have concrete roads, and the program has started and it must be continued. Even after Dr. Lucia has left, we have issues of unemployment, serious issues of unemployment, and we need to start focusing on skills training to enhance the skills of young people, to give them a better chance to get a job. Going through training doesn't mean you have a guarantee of a job, but it better places you to get a job. We have the young men and the sportsmen, the facilities for them, support for them. We have young people with other talents from sports, in art, in modeling, in different areas. What opportunities can be created for them? But probably most importantly is how we can give people the hope that we can deal with the challenges, we can overcome them, and we can achieve.
And is it because you can't do that because you have done it?
In some ways, yes, and in some ways I believe in the people. I believe, despite the challenges, that they can achieve, and we can have a lot of success stories in Castro South. And I believe together, we will do a lot of great things. And I believe in the capacity of the people for them to achieve.
Please stay tuned. Have you heard about citizenship by investment? The economic realities facing the world indeed is clear to many of us. You go to America and there are many unemployed people. You talk about investing in the development of a country, and of course, some countries do not have oil, they do not have natural resources. And when you think of St. Lucia, what do we have? Yes, we have Sulphur Spring and the tourists come to St. Lucia. We need to do things in St. Lucia that could help prop up our economy. And it looks like the government has decided going forward that we need to get investors from overseas. They have developed a policy that Ernest will tell us, Dr. Hilaire will tell us, what is the citizenship by investment program? Dr. Hilaire.
I mean, just let's take back a step.
Okay.
We spoke about unemployment in the country, all the challenges.
Right.
For the country to have economic advancement, for there to be business opportunity, you need to have investment, plain and simple.
Okay.
So either government invests, the local business invests, or you attract foreign investment. For government to invest, it must raise taxes or borrow money. As it stands now, the government can't raise taxes anymore.
Okay.
Government cannot borrow anymore. So the capacity of government to invest, building roads, building schools, bridges, whatnot, is severely limited.
Let me interrupt you. You cannot borrow because of the expenditure that's too high.
Because you've borrowed, yes, you borrowed so much in the past.
Okay, good.
And and then the economy is not getting big enough, so you're restricted in how much borrowing. You can still borrow, but very
not
little.
as before.
The local business sector has invested, but it is not big enough to invest so much to be able to absorb all the young people that need employment in this country.
And about 3,000 live in the schools
every year.
Every year, right.
So where do you look to for most of your investment? Foreign direct investment. So you, as a country, you need to attract foreign investment because they will bring the hundreds of millions of dollars to create jobs, construction jobs, set up hotels, set up factories, whatnot,
right.
whatever. Since 2008, and let me also point out, in 2006, we attracted almost $1 billion in investment in St. Lucia. St. Lucia, highest levels of foreign investment. Unemployment was at its lowest. The government changed then. 2008 was the economic crisis. All investment started drying up. We now find ourselves in a state where we need to attract foreign investment. Okay. But the foreign investors are saying, we need more than what you're offering. Because when we are deciding to go and invest in a country, if we have options of countries next to you,
yes, where things can be cheaper,
where things can be cheaper, not labor, financing,
okay.
And you have the financing of investment through citizenship programs available, it is cheaper for us to go there than to go to you. Even if you have a nicer country, if you have nicer people, it is cheaper for me to go there. So building a hotel in your country will cost me 150 million. Loans I have to raise. Okay. But if I go to St. Kitts, it will cost me 40 million. So why should I go to your country? So we reached a point where we had to consider, and we decided, to set up a citizenship by investment program where our citizenship is offered to persons who would invest in the country. Okay. And we've been able to use that to now reposition St. Lucia, where we can compete with our neighboring countries and also globally as a destination where investment is cheaper because of the citizenship program.
Do we have any good news as far as investors and investment?
The Prime Minister will make those announcements very shortly, I'm sure.
Okay, all right, okay.
And there will be very good news.
Okay, sounds good. But what do you think about our investors in St. Lucia? Do they need to go out of St. Lucia as well to compete on a regional level, or what about the regional investors?
Well, they have to, and I'll tell you why. It's not necessarily going out to compete. For investment and for business to be viable and successful, there are issues of scale. It's one thing if you're producing for 15,000 people in St. Lucia, or you're producing for 150,000 people in the Eastern Caribbean. Okay. So it is sometimes more profitable, based on your enterprise, to have a larger scale. So our businessmen sometimes, by necessity, have to think of a wider market that they're producing for them to be more successful, because our market is just too small. Some people tell you to set up a factory to produce for 500 people is not worth it, because one run should be 15,000 for it to be successful.
What type of investment do you think St. Lucia need now that could really give us some relief?
Well, the hospitality sector, tourism, is probably the easiest one. Okay. I mean, every hotel room probably employs 2 to 3, 4 persons. So you have a 300-room hotel, you'll employ close to 1,000 people. When it comes to factories, the factors of production are still very costly in St. Lucia. Labor is still very high compared to India, China, and the Far East. Cost of electricity is still very high compared to those other countries. So we're not very competitive when it comes to industrial production, in a direct way. But there are agro-processing efforts, initiatives that we can pursue. Okay. Look at chocolate in St. Lucia, for example. Look at Barron's Food and Viking Traders. Right. We found competitive niches in those areas that we must exploit, and we must expand. And we probably can look to agro-processing as an alternative. We've been talking lately of medical research, how we can, go into that area to see how we can absorb.
Such a subject has become a little risky, isn't it?
Well, there's always risk. Okay. But when you see risk, you don't turn and run and hide. You need to be able to confront it and say, well, if this is a risk, what do I do to be able to overcome it? Okay. And how do I deal with it? If every time you see risk or a challenge, you turn and run, you won't progress as a nation, you won't progress as a person.
But let me ask on behalf of those my viewers, what is the truth about this last incident, about the risk involved with this? You know what I'm talking about? Who comes to mind?
Which one?
The multi-billion dollar, the billion.
Jafali issue.
What about that? I am lost. I don't know what to say. Maybe you may be in the best position to tell.
No, we've explained it before, and we'll explain it many times. And the opposition needs something for the elections. They need something to hang around the neck of the government, and certainly around my neck. that they can scream scandal and to see how they can discredit you. I mean, it's politics. It's a very simple thing. It has been done many times in the past. It is a policy and a practice of governments of St. Lucia that we appoint individuals to assist us.
Governments means both?
Both. Our oldest diplomat is not a St. Lucian. Okay. He was appointed by Sir John Compton. Okay. So, and not only St. Lucia, many of the small states appoint foreign nationals to represent them overseas. They have networks, they have contacts. You don't have the money to have a representative in every capital. You don't have money to have ambassadors in every conference everywhere. You need to reach out to investors to attract to bring them to St. Lucia. So you do use foreign nationals to assist you. And most times you go to people who will do it at their expense and not you have to pay for it. And in this case, Dr. Jufali was appointed, as our representative of the IMO. He's also the government of Denmark's honorary consul in Jeddah. So he's an experienced diplomat. His brother is the honorary consul for Sweden. Okay. So in their whole family, they have been diplomats. And at the time we did our research, there was no reason to believe there was anything challenging that would arise. Of course, his ex-wife decided after that she wanted a share of his fortune, and she went to court to get it. Of course, he indicated that he was a diplomat and he had immunity, and his wife asked us to lift it, and we said, well, we don't decide those things. This is a private matter between a husband and wife. Go to court and settle it. We have no reason to lift immunity for that purpose. We'll be setting a very bad precedent if we did that. Of course, the opposition jumped on it and said, oh, we're not lifting it because there's a deal with him, we're benefiting privately from it. And it's absolutely not the case. And for me, you've heard a lot. We've explained, but the opposition will not let it lie. And they will not let it lie because they believe they want to make it stick. Okay. And in the process, they can discredit the Prime Minister, they can discredit me, they can discredit the government, and they will make some leeway, and hopefully they will win the election.
You know a good politician, what he does? He creates confusion so that he could appear bright.
Yeah.
I must tell you, Dr. Hilaire, have been so good talking to you.
Yes.
But we need you to give us some hope as a country. I'm not interested in that Joe Valley talk, to be honest with you, because too many young people are unemployed, there are too many more important issues. What do you tell the young man, the young lady who wants to believe in life, believe in the future, and all the issues that people say perhaps may be relevant to suicide, etc. Give us your heart before you give us a closing remark. What's your heart towards our country?
I believe we can overcome our challenges, or we can certainly face our challenges with faith, the belief that we as a country can deal with some of the problems that we face, but we must do it together as a people united. If we fight among ourselves, if we fight in our own house, there's no way we'll be able to confront some of those issues. And I want young people to believe in their capacity to achieve. When you face challenges, the first thing you should not do is run. You need to have faith and the belief that you can face those challenges, and to believe as young people that you can achieve, that you will achieve, and to have the faith and the belief that you can do so. So if there's one message I want to leave to our young people, is not to listen to a lot of the talk which says unemployment causes suicide. And for young people to start thinking, if I'm unemployed, then maybe I should commit suicide, or I should give up. I should be involved in violence because I'm unemployed. These are the wrong messages we are sending to our young people. We need to send more positive messages. We need to let our young people believe you won't get everything in one day. Not even the Almighty built everything in one day. So we need to be patient, we need to prepare ourselves, and we need to work hard to achieve the success that we want.
Yes, well, Dr. Hilaire, Ernest, may God bless you.
Thank you very much.
As you continue to excel, as you continue to serve your country, I would encourage you to put God first. People have all kinds of debates, who is God, but deep down inside that there is a vacuum in all of us that only God can fill. And ladies and gentlemen, you have been viewing this program, and I want to thank you. May God bless you, and keep on having faith, keep on believing, trust in God. I wish you success. I wish your family well. And I hope Dr. Anthony and the rest of the team will find it fitting to keep on doing what's right for this country. And I pray that you have a good day.
Thank you very much.
God bless.
God bless.